How's it going? I'm Anthony.
And I'm Jericho.
Welcome to Panoramic ViewPoints. We have some cool questions that we thought were interesting. Things based on like biology or choices or things like that. The first one that I think is that we should just talk about it. Is love an emotion or a choice?
Is love an emotion or a choice?
That's a tough one.
That is tough.
It's a big question. It's a very curious question.
I look at love as something that is kind of like, let's say, imagine a cake, right?
Okay, so like big
A
chocolate
big
cake.
a big chocolate cake
Okay,
right in
I
front
like
of
that.
you. You have the choice of either grabbing the cake or you can leave it alone. I think it's something that we have access to.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And I do think it's a choice.
Okay.
And I do believe it is. I believe it's an emotion that we have access to whenever we want, if we choose to access it. So that is mine.
I have a different take on that. I do believe that love is a choice, and I agree with you on that. I think that you choose to grind it out daily with the people that you love and care about, because for the most part, you can't choose your family. You can choose who you stay with the rest of your life.
That's true.
But you can't choose their faults and all the other things, right?
I think love comes in many forms too.
I was just getting on that. That's 100%. In the Greek, there's actually 4 definitions. I know 3 of them. I can't remember the last one, but it's philios, eros, and agape.
I actually have heard of those.
Yes, agape is actually the kind of love that, from what I understand, is completely unconditional.
Yes.
Eros
I have heard of these, yes.
Yes. Eros is like a physical love, a sexual love, and then Philios is like a brotherly love, like I love you like a brother. Now the last one I don't remember.
I can't remember it either, but I do know what you're
it's
talking
something to do with like a protective love over your children or your grandparents.
Children love, because you have like a different love for your children than you probably do for your wife.
I think this one's more it's the same thing, but it's more or less like I want to protect you and make sure that you have a successful life and blah blah blah, all those kinds of things. Now I think it's a choice to go out and actually love somebody, like love them, agape, for example. That's the one I truly think is love.
What's the agape again?
Unconditional. So
unconditional.
Like, you know, even though you don't put the toilet paper roll back on the roll, I still love you for that. Or
if it's upside down, you know, I still love you.
I still love you. I may
you.
not be happy with you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that petty, but
so agape,
those kind of things.
Agape love is like pretty much you love them no matter what.
No matter what. It's I love you despite your faults, which I mean, it's just good to have if you like. It's actually a skill, because you learn to develop it as yourself, and then I would expect I want someone to love me that way, and if I'm not giving that, it's kind of like, well, I could just take it from you, but it's not very fair. It's a one-way street.
It's not fair. That's true.
So I believe it's a choice. I believe it's a choice, 100%.
100%. Okay.
I do believe the philios aspect, like the feeling of like a brotherly love and stuff like that. I think it's fleeting. And it eventually comes down to the point where you're like, I agape love everyone. I have to choose to love everyone.
That's true.
I really want to yearn to love people. But the feeling, like that initial, like, what do they call it, the honeymoon stage? That whole idea, I think
that's a choice.
I think that's...
Because somebody said that love is work. Right?
Yes.
And it is. It really is.
So.
It works.
Very much so.
Anyway, question 2. Is wealth defined as money or is wealth prosperity?
Now, I believe prosperity means something completely different than just having money. I think prosperity has wealth, happiness, relationships, and above all, like, just happiness in general. I personally believe that. I don't know about everybody else, but yeah.
I'm going to go to the Bible here.
Okay.
In Matthew 4:4, the devil is tempting Jesus. And he said, if you look at this kingdom has lots of wealth in it. Lots and lots of wealth. And so what I think he meant by wealth...
Do you mean like land and
buildings
and lots of gold?
Lots of buildings,
lots of gold.
And it's like the only way that would be able to be there is if somebody had prosperity. Somebody prospered in that exact same place in the exact same time.
I totally agree. Also, it's almost like a what's the word? A group setting. So like everybody, if one person has something, that means the wealth can be distributed, so everyone else becomes wealthy.
Exactly.
That is what your definition of wealth is?
Okay. Yes.
I agree with that. Yes.
Anyway, talking about Jesus, our third question is, what would Jesus' ministry be if he came here today? So let me just set this up here a little bit. let's say Jesus never came 2,000 years ago, okay? And let's say that he came in today's world. What would be his first step?
That's a hard one given, the whole Son of God aspect of him.
Yes.
I think that he would probably take a deep, hard look into what's going on in the world and what potentially are people taking from the teachings that he had created.
Yes.
And how maybe they might be misrepresenting them, or, how can I build on this sort of thing. What he would do, I do not know, because from my understanding, if he came back, kind of end time sort of situation, and I'm just hoping, I'm happy to be raptured at that point.
It was probably a good thing that he did come 2,000 years ago, because the world was smaller back then, right? Obviously. And so I think
what do you mean by smaller?
Just like the world,
as in their area.
The world grows.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
The people on the world, right? There was less people back then. The
population.
population.
Yeah, okay.
I think if he did come here today, I think he would actually honestly use television, possibly, because
as a media outlet.
As a media outlet, because people. It's like, what would be a better way to reach people than television? To be honest.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
To be honest, because or would he try and go for a specific group, and then let that group disciple and go forth, expand, right? I think it could be either one of those, right?
Just be like a televangelist.
A televangelist.
maybe not so much about the money, just more about saving souls.
Yeah, saving souls.
Yes. What he would do though, I don't know. He might actually just send a hurricane over somewhere and blow something up if he needed to. I don't know. I'm just teasing, but the point is that
Andreas fault.
I shall close the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that miracle?
Run away!
The tectonic plates just shifting.
Yeah. Jesus!
Look what I can do. Ooh, this is a good one. This goes a little off topic from our previous ones, but it has to do a little bit with wealth as well. Is debt a form of modern slavery?
Okay, well, let's look at the definition of slavery. Slavery, another word for slavery, is servitude. So, are we serving money?
I think that depends on your heart. I don't know what everybody's doing, but I think debt forces people into a situation that they're not necessarily naturally supposed to be in.
Supposed to be in.
Yeah,
but it is the choice of the user, though.
100%, and that's the tricky part about debt in our current society, is that it makes you think that it's an okay decision. Until you have that weight placed on you, and then it's like you're stuck here. If you don't like it, we're just going to take back everything that you decided to sign for.
Yeah.
So
it goes back to what I was saying to you earlier, just like a couple minutes ago before we started this video. Do you control money, or does money control you?
That's a deep question.
That's pretty much what you got to think of.
Money your tool, or are you a servant of that tool?
Of that money. In the Bible, it says that money is the root of all evil, or most evil.
The love of money.
The love of money. Sorry,
that's a difference.
I don't want to contort the scriptures here.
That's true.
Yes, but yes, that is my opinion on that topic. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I think debt is a form of slavery. I think that you are forced to work for the most part. I don't know about everybody, but I think this is a fair assessment, not an assumption. Most people are very unhappy with their jobs because they're required to work, maybe say 2-3 jobs to pay off the mountain of debt that's cast on them. And it is a choice, but I don't think the gravity of that choice is fully understood until they're under that I guess you can call it a yoke.
Debt, I find it's something like if you use money improperly, or you're not disciplined in the ways of money, because money, you can honestly be on. It has the capability of being able to be on both sides of the spectrum.
Well, money is amoral, right? It really has no... It's not like it wakes up and it's like, I'm going to do bad things or good things today. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, what is the user going to use? Right?
Exactly. So people view money as bad because people use it wrong. But money, it's like
It's even misled in the scriptures, like what you said. Like people think money is the root of all evil. No, it's the love of money. It's like, well, I'm willing to, cut that person's head off for $100,000.
That's true.
See,
that's
true. It's not wrong. The money that's deciding, okay, well, this person's life will end. It's that individual making that choice for money.
That's true.
And that's what it is. It's like, I desire that money more than I desire that person to even exist. And I may not even know him. He might be a good person.
So, in retrospect, yes, I do believe debt is a form of slavery.
There we are on that one.
How do we decide what is... This is a hard one.
We're growing right into the basis of morality at this point.
How do we decide what is right and wrong.
I would like to actually hear your viewpoint on this, Jericho.
Okay. Oh man, this is hard. Well, I guess it depends. Okay, let's create a situation here. What is right and what is wrong? I'm just trying to think of a good situation that I can present of what I would do in that situation. What would be my moral questioning besides it?
So,
you know what I mean?
See, that's actually one of the good things that Jericho's brought up is what would he do in a particular situation? It leads it to a point of what being subjective. I, as a person, based upon my experiences in XYZ, would deal with this situation in this manner, and he would deal with it that way.
Because I think a lot of it has to do with how you're raised too, right? Like what your family's morals were. But what if your families disagree with what the government's morals are?
Well, what if what your family tells you to do is actually wrong?
Well, think about somebody that was born, and let's say a father raises his son, and he says, "I want you to kill all those people in that country." Okay? Every single day he told his son this. I want you to kill every single person in that country. And then this son raises up and he thinks that is morally right.
That's where it's subjective. Right? And I think that if you're going to look at the baseline of what morality is and what right and wrong is, first we have to understand how do we determine if something is wrong or right. Yeah. Okay, first there has to be a definitive, individual or person in a position of power to dictate what is right and wrong.
Yes.
Without that, everything is subjective based upon the person's perceptions and experiences and so forth.
So here's a question. Do you think morality should be based on majority decision?
Negative. Because there at one point it was okay to burn people because they thought they were witches. Or throw them in the water to see if they drown. Or, for the sake of just throwing the argument out there, even in the New Testament, there was a lot of people who were stoned based upon the fact that they were committing adultery.
That's true.
They were killed. Done. Goodbye.
That's true.
I don't fully agree with that. Do I?
Majority decision isn't always right.
I'm gonna reiterate what I just said. I do not agree with that. I don't think stoning people is okay. Yes. And I don't I understand from where it's coming from, but would I do that? No, not at all. Now, the definitive point of what is right and wrong, I think there has to be a person in a position of authority to dictate whether or not something is right or wrong.
So are you saying like a singular person in authority?
I don't think it has to be, in my personal opinion, and this is just based upon my faith and my walk in life, I don't think that any one person is objective enough to actually dictate what is right or wrong. I think that there is an emotional tie to almost any situation, and that person will stray in regards to making the proper choice because maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe that really hurt them and it touched something from their past and it was like, oh wow, that happened to me when I was a kid. I'm potentially gonna do this, or this happened 3 weeks ago. I don't feel sorry for this person, or I don't feel the amount of empathy I should for an individual.
I was reading an article on Facebook today. I don't want to get into this. This is a completely different topic for a completely different time, but it was based on should we spank our kids, okay? And it was just amazing how so many people had so many different viewpoints on this thing, because a lot of people think that spanking is child abuse, and a lot of people think that it's necessary to spank your kids because that line that you create when they're younger will go to when they're older, right? There's so many viewpoints on this, but it was just amazing how many different viewpoints there were, because based on some people's opinion, because let's say somebody was raised in a family where they got literally whipped by a belt or anything like that, of course that person's going to grow up saying spanking is child abuse.
Any form of it would.
But if there's somebody who gets raised up and it's just like a slap on the hand or whatever, of course they're going to say spanking is fine. So it's just based on what you said, emotion.
At that point it's subjective again. We have to have something to dictate the compass towards right or wrong. See, and that's in my opinion, I think God should be that person of authority to dictate what's right or wrong. And if I know there's a lot of controversy in regards to what happens in the Old Testament, and I don't agree with a lot of it. And if you read the New Testament, Jesus has a lot of scriptures on love and how not to do things because it's not the right thing to do.
It's true.
It's true. But the authority itself cannot, I think, be given to one single person to dictate this and that. Now, as a whole, and this is where I do believe democracy has a lot of benefits, but at the same time, it goes back to the majority rule thing. Not maybe being the best. If a lot of people think that something is wrong when it actually has a lot of benefits to it,
Yeah.
there is a good chance that the majority will rule in a democratically run country.
Yeah,
and you know
sure.
what? So be it. But I do believe that if in a perfect world, I personally think that everyone should love everybody and do the right thing.
I do think that is kind of the basis. Like, go back to the first question of, I do think that if we do all love each other, that morality and that decisions of good and bad, I think those would kind of start to dissipate, to be honest.
Well, the whole idea of it would be,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to talk about it because it would be a guideline set out prior to
That's
you
true.
even thinking about it. It's like, okay, this is the way life is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm all for people of freedom of thought and freedom of speech, and
Yes.
I think it's a beautiful thing.
Well, just look at our channel.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Panoramic ViewPoints.
Fair
We're
enough,
looking
fair
for your viewpoint here.
And I think yes. My personal viewpoint, I do believe there should be a defining authority, not a human authority, but I believe in a sentient, actually more than that, an omnipotent individual.
Yeah.
To dictate.
Because humans aren't
Not
perfect.
dictate, but to authoritate
Yeah.
those rules. I believe the decision of right and wrong is based upon something that has the proper authority to determine what is right and wrong, not, in my opinion, human. Now,
Because humans
that
aren't
sounds
perfect.
messed up. It probably sounds silly too,
Yes.
but that's how I feel on the subject.
So if you do not believe in God, you might
Maybe a giant flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah. Okay, we're not making fun of you, but if you do not believe in God, this might seem kind of silly to you for what we believe in, right?
agree.
We believe in God, right? And so I don't know. We would like to hear what your viewpoints are on
100%.
that question, because if you don't
Actually,
believe in
any
God,
of the questions, to
or
be
even
honest,
any of the
feel
questions,
free to just
Please.
drop a line.
yes, because we want to understand exactly how you guys think, because we literally have only had two sides of this box that.
In regards to the God aspect, I believe it's a little biased because we both are on the same page with it, which
Yes.
isn't wrong, but I think that it is refreshing to hear something from an outside perspective.
For sure. It is nice to hear.
Awesome.
But anyway, we hope you liked the topics that we discussed today. Quite a bit more serious than some of our previous videos.
It was a lot of fun, though. I actually liked some of the
Yeah.
debt one is really interesting. I like the idea of
It
people
is
not
true.
being in debt. I think that is essential to everybody. Kind of unrealistic for a lot of people, but I think
Yeah.
once people start to see that they don't need to live with the amounts that they have, life would be a lot better.
I think I totally agree with that. Poverty is a disease.
Yes.
It is. It is
100%.
completely disease. And some people, I think, allow poverty to rule
Consume
their
their
lives.
life.
They're
Yes.
slaves to poverty.
It sucks.
Yeah. But anyway,
That sounds. Anyways, it was Panoramic ViewPoints. Thank you for your time.
we will check you later.
Have a good one.